Hey everyone, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Deck Profile. This is Fluff here. Today we're looking at Set 2 Vegito. So, Vegito got a lot of support with the Anniversary Box. Lots of fun. I'm going to try to do this faster than I normally do. I'm not going to talk as much. I'm going to hit key points and go from there. So, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe and like button. Let us know in the comments below if there's something that you want to see, whether it be Dragon Ball related or not. You know, we're pretty free and open to do whatever. If there's a leader that you'd like for us to explore, or an engine within a leader that you'd like us for us to explore, please let us know. We're happy to do that. So, looking at the Set 2 Vegito leader, I've always been a huge proprietor for leaders that draw on both sides. This breaks my rule. He doesn't draw on the front side. The only thing that he really does is when you swing, you mill the top card of your deck. If it's a red card, he gets 5,000 power for the battle. But he has a permanent that all Son Goku and Vegeta count as being red, blue, and green. So they don't inherently count as yellow with this leader, so please keep that in mind. Don't really run any yellow in the deck. But that's the front side of the leader. When you're at 4 or less life, you get to awaken and draw 2. On the back side, we do finally get our draws. He still has the ability that turns all Goku and Vegeta red, blue, and green, regardless of their original color. And then he also gets, when he swings, you get to draw. And then if you have a total of 10 or more Goku and Vegeta in the drop area, he gets 5,000 power and double strike. That doesn't happen a whole lot. Maybe super late game that might happen, but it doesn't generally happen. The leader is just a necessity here. The leader is not the workhorse in this deck, unlike it is in most other decks. So moving on to the cards in the deck, we run 3 Saiyan Duo Son Goku and 3 Saiyan Duo Vegetas. We don't run these because of what they do. We run these because we need Vegeta and Goku targets. So these are nice if you have to play them. If you have to play the Goku, he'll find the Vegeta, and while they're both on the field, they both get 10,000 power. Vegeta gets to restand one of your energy when he's played, and the Goku gets to find a Vegeta and play it in rest mode if you play them through that means. But like I said, we don't play them because of that effect. They're just there because we need Goku and Vegeta targets. Cards that we do play for their effects, we play from the Anniversary box, Vegeta Resolve Renewed. This is the type of stuff that Vegito really needed. So pay 1 energy. You can play this card from your hand. If you do, you can take up to 1 life, add it to your hand. This helps us awaken if someone's trying to slow us down, because on the front side, we don't get to draw. So it keeps our deck movement really slow if we don't have a way to awaken. Permanent, if you have 3 or more energy, becomes a 1 cost, either in deck or in hand. So we want that. Counterplay, if your opponent is playing a card 15,000 or less power, it's placed in the drop area instead of being played. So this is really important for stuff like agents, though usually by the time you get to play him for 1 energy as a counterplay, agents have already kind of established their board, and you want to try to be dealing with them and ending that game as fast as possible. So that's not always there, but a counterplay instead. The Goku counterpart to that is Son Goku Resolved Renewed. This is exactly the same as the Vegeta. If you have 3 or more energy, he becomes a 1-drop. Alternatively, activate main, you can pay 1, play him, take a life and add it to hand. But instead of being a counter play, he is a counter attack. So you simply just negate the card and play this. So this helps you get Goku and Vegeta bodies on board if you so had to do it this way, though the deck runs a much more optimal way of getting into the pieces that it wants to run. Then to help supplement the fact that the leader doesn't draw much, and in weird situations where you're forced to play out the Goku and the Vegeta really early, we do run 3 Vegito power combined. So for 1 energy, you get to Union Potara, the 2 cards, and then you get to draw 2 cards, because when he's played, you draw 1. And then if he was played by Union Fusion or Union Potara with a Union skill, you get to draw an additional cards. So you are losing a little bit of hand advantage because you're giving up the 2 cards on the field plus the 1 in hand to just draw 2, but it moves and cycles your deck, and which is what this leader really needs a lot of. So we do play it for that. Alternatively, if you get to like 5 life, or you get to like 5 or 6 energy, and you need to play a Vegito out of your energy, you can always use his pay 2, put himself in energy to play a Vegito that you've charged. But that doesn't come up too often, just mainly for the draw. One of the major components of the deck is the Vegito Polymorphic Potara. This is pay 1, discard it. You find a Son Goku and a Vegeta in your deck, play them in rest mode with their effects negated. So this is the primary way that we are going to assemble Goku and Vegeta cards to the field. It is susceptible to counterplays, but it's the cleanest, fastest, least expensive way that we have of getting Union Potara targets on field. So 4 of those, as it's necessary. The last piece of Anniversary Box support that the deck sorely needed was Vegito Resolved Combined. We play 4 of these guys. They are Union Potara for free. You basically, if you've got the 2 Goku, if you've got Goku and Vegeta on board, he's a Union Potara for free. He's barrier, so your opponent's going to have a hard time dealing with him, especially if they don't have a counterplay. Activate main, you can pay 2 to play a 7-drop Vegeta from the deck on top of him, or alternatively, you can pay 4 to play a 10-drop on top of him. So, 7 or less, or 10 or less. So that's going to be important to note, that they play them from the deck. They don't play them from the hand or play them in the drop area. So please keep that in mind. But this is usually how we're going to go into our big boys. We're going to get our pieces out with Polymorphic Potara, and then Resolved Combined is going to do that. Another thing to mention on this card is that it does draw 2 when it's played, so it replaces the Union Potara and itself out of the hand. The 2 cards played out of the deck weren't in your hand to begin with, so... As a contingency, we do run 2 lightning speed Vegitos. This is really important if you somehow get all of your Vegito targets in hand and have to combo them off, or they mistakenly get milled through the leader's effect and they're just dead and you can't really get off Resolve Combined. So you can use this to get access to the Vegitos that are in the drop area. Again, this is a Union Potara 3. After you swing, after he swings, you mill 10. And then if there's a Vegito in the drop area with 25,000 power attack, you get to play it on top of him. So let's look at those targets. So these are the 7-drop Vegitos. I've seen a lot of builds that run upwards of 8 Vegito targets, and that's just too much because it clunks. So we only run 1 repeated force Vegito. This is typically Union Potara 5, but it's free off of, or for 2 energy off of the Resolve Combined and 3 energy for Lightning Speed Vegito. So as early as turn 2 with a Sensu Bean, we can play one of these guys. So Repeated Force is just the powerhouse. He's going to gain power equal to each Son Goku and Vegito in your drop area. He's not really going to do anything else for you. This is what you want to play late game, less so than playing it early game. So only one of those because it's not optimal. Then we run 2 Hyper Rush Super Saiyan Blue Vegitos. These are the optimal target, and I only run 2 because you don't want to see them in your hand. You want them to stay in the deck as much as possible. So running 4 puts a lot in your hand. They're pay 1 10,000 to combo off. We don't like that because our energy is typically dedicated turn to turn for defense or playing offensive options. So we do only play 2 of these. When they're played, you get to draw 2. You choose 1 card on your opponent's side of the field, send it to the drop area, and then your opponent discards a card from their hand as well. So you get to pick both targets. You don't get to see the hand, but you do get to rip 1 card out of the hand, plus pop a card on the field, and he's triple strike. So this is a huge advantage, and dealing with a 25,000 triple attack, triple strike on turn 2 or turn 3 is a lot for any deck to deal with, really, unless you counterplay it out with the Blue Trunks or some other option like resting it down with Vegeta Prideful Transformation. Lastly, we do run the Ultimate Force Super Saiyan Blue Vegito. Truthfully, this could be this secret rare, or it could be the Power of Potara secret rare from set 7, I believe. It doesn't really matter, personally. This felt like a better game closer than the Power of Potara. The Power of Potara, truthfully, is inoptimal to me, just because it only taps 4 down, and it's only 1 swing. Now, it is 40,000 triple strike. He gets to draw 4 cards, and you get to tap down 4, I believe, just off the top of my head. But this is a 40,000 triple strike, triple attack. So unless they counterplay this or have a Nimbus or have a Time Magic, this is going to get 3 strikes off, which is a lot of pressure for your opponent to deal with, especially considering you can do this as early as turn 4 with the correct setup. So we do run this over Power of Tara because I like the pressure that it adds. Now, that's the whole Vegito package. So let's look at kind of tech options, things that I think the deck really needs. So 2 Koitsukais. Really unfortunate. I think this card is on the chopping block for set 11. I'm going to make a video talking about that later. But this card is so important because you need to be able to put your Vegitos back into your deck if you've got them in your hand. So while Koitsukai is in the drop area, you can pay 1, warp him from the drop, place up to 2 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck, and then you get to draw that many cards. So it's net 0 card advantage. But also during that turn, if your opponent plays a card, they have to choose 2 cards from their hand and warp them. So if your opponent topos or they use one of the new counterplay battle cards from set 10, they're going to have to lose cards in order to get that off just to stop what you're doing. So a well-timed Koitsukai on the turn that you're trying to go off, on the turn that you're trying to play Hyper Rush, or the turn that you're trying to play Ultimate Force Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, costs your opponent a lot and is probably the difference between winning the game and losing the game because it makes them decide whether they're going to do it. Now, unfortunately, I think this card's going to get hit because of Baby in the next set. This card really just says no to Baby. So we'll see what Bandai decides to do. It's going to be really interesting. I believe this is a card on their watch list, so this card is heavily inflated right now. I have to urge people from a market watch perspective, do not pay $40 a piece for this card. It's not worth it. Next, we play 4 super combos. Then kind of on our control side, we do play 3 of the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Son Goku Consecrated Destruction. This is for field control. If you're playing a really aggro deck, something like Agents of Destruction, or Yamcha, or Pilaf, or Vegex, that just builds a board that you may have trouble dealing with turn after turn. You can use this to just wipe the board. So we do run 2 of those because of that. Conversely, in tandem with that, we do run 2 of these Super Saiyan Vegeta Exploiting Weakness. This is also board control. A well-timed Exploiting Weakness Vegeta will just shut your opponent down. Same thing with a well-timed Goku. They just shut each other down. The big difference, Vegito can be done on your turn, Goku can be done on your turn. So, the Goku's a cheaper option, basically does the same thing, but can only be done on your turn. The Vegeta is still a 3 cost, but can be done as a counterplay. I've actually been thinking about taking the Gokus out and just playing 4 Vegetas, but I think any option there. If you don't have the Vegetas, the Gokus are a great option. Any deck that can run it should run Topo Righteous Aid. This is such an important card for dealing with basically any aggro deck right now. So a lot of decks are aggro. If they're aggro, there's a chance they don't draw a lot. So having to make them discard 2 cards from their hand, like think about Agents. Agents don't draw once the Bibbidi awakens. So they just fizzle. And if you drop a Topo, they have to plan, like, can I beat you now by discarding 2 cards every time I attack? Or do I have to wait until next turn, which gives you an opportunity to win in response? So 4 felt clunky because we do run the Vegeta and the Goku. So I brought this down to 3 just so I could run those 2 cards, but you could absolutely run 4. They're perfectly good for that. Kind of last but not least, we're going into our extra cards. I run 3 After Image Technique, best red negate in the game, unless we're talking about, is that all you got? But this deck doesn't draw on the front side, so I didn't want to rely on something that made me discard just to negate an attack. So 3 After Image for the sparking in case we have to, and then 3 Sensu Beans for the play extensions and defense. No explanation required. And if my counts are correct, that should be 50 cards for the Set 2 Vegito deck. I'm definitely enjoying this deck. It has probably an 80 to 88% consistency as far as getting its plays off. The big thing is that it is extremely draw dependent, so if you draw extremely poorly, it's going to be a slog and it's going to be an uphill battle. So unless you have a way to defend yourself, you're probably not going to get into the pieces It is extremely delicate towards crit, so if your opponent's coming at you with a lot of crit or making you discard, it's incredibly difficult to deal with that aspect. But I do incredibly enjoy this. I think Vegito desperately needs a new red leader. Hopefully that's something we'll see in set 12 or in a future set. We're definitely not seeing it in set 11. I thought we would, but we got some other interesting stuff for set 11. So if you liked what you saw, please leave a comment below. Once again, let us know if there's something that you want to see. We're happy to do it. As always, I'm Fluff, and time for the motto. Read your cards, know your plays, and as always, Fluff out.